What's going on, everyone? It's Mitch from RespectMyRegion.com back with another episode of the RMR Podcast. Today, special guest Maggie Rabadi, VP of Sales of THC Design. How you doing today, Maggie?
Well done, Mitch. You got my last name right. Congratulations. I'm doing great.
Awesome. Well, great to have you on here. Back to back. We ran an episode yesterday. Had someone else out of the West Coast. We're keeping it all the way
Sweet.
West Coast this week. Which we've been traveling a little bit around the country,
West
getting to the
Coast
East.
is the best coast.
Yeah, I agree with you. We get to the East Coast a little bit more for the opportunities in the industry, but as a smoker, I always say if the state's touching the Pacific Ocean, that's where I want my weed from, man, for sure.
That's what I'm talking about. California got the best weed in the world, my friends.
I won't argue with you. I'll say Oregon might give you guys a run for the money in certain
We're
certain
neighbors.
regards,
We're neighbors.
but you
I'll
guys
give you that. We're neighbors.
before we get too far into the combo, I always start off the first question to every guest, their origin story with the plant being cannabis. So whether that's personal, professional, whatever you feel vulnerable in sharing, but just kind of curious when you, Maggie, and cannabis started your relationship together.
Well, I learned about the medicinal benefits of cannabis at a very, very early age. And I've noticed most of your guests have done the same. Um, and I am very much into plant medicine as opposed to over the counter pharmaceuticals. And so cannabis has effectively helped me combat depression, anxiety, insomnia, pain, and inflammation. So I've naturally turned other people onto cannabis and off on, in many cases, off of their prescription medication. And I'm talking junior high, high school at this point, um, and throughout my adult life. And you know, since cannabis was illegal, it was really difficult and dangerous to get the medicine, not only just like having to meet somebody in a dark alley, but the medicine itself. I didn't know if it was clean. And when you learn all how dirty cannabis can be when you become a grower, which I ended up doing. So I decided to learn how to grow myself. I got tired of being, paranoid or worried about where I'm getting it from and who I'm getting it from. And when you're younger, you'll take a little more risk. But I truly was using, as much as I enjoyed cannabis, I truly was using it for medicinal purposes and didn't realize it. I just knew like I'd function better, and I was very, very hyper. They diagnosed me with ADD, and everybody's got ADD. And like, so through my studies, and I was a 4.0 study, I was like a nerd. But I needed cannabis to stay focused, to study, just to keep my mind right, actually. And so on a personal level, that's how it started, and it's been in my family. My grandparents were farmers, and uncles, and so on and so forth, but they weren't the ones that actually introduced me to the plant. And so when I was kind of, it was so illegal and like, so taboo that we would never talk about it. Which I never understood, how like this beautiful plant was illegal. So long story short, started growing it myself with my partner for about good 10 years. And then unfortunately we were robbed 2018, and that was scary, and also a sign that now that cannabis is recreationally legal, it's probably time to just put the hose down and go work for a legal company. And that's what led me to THC Design. So after, God, 10 years of growing, I started researching companies that I wanted to work for that had the quality of cannabis that I was used to. Because when you're growing your own, you're putting a lot of love into the plant. I mean, we sang to the plants every day. We tend to the plants. We care about what we're putting into the plants. And so um, I wanted a company that cared about it the same way that I do. And so I started consulting. I used my accounting and finance background to do some consulting for different brands until I landed on the one that I really liked, and that was THC Design. And so my accounting and finance got me into the legal market. And that's what I did at THC Design for my first year. I was their director of finance. Um, did you want me to keep going on that?
No, you're good. Good. You went from cultivating at home to a career
Correct.
in cannabis and finance, and then we
Correct.
transitioned to sales. So it's definitely
Yes.
an interesting journey, and that's one of my favorite things about this platform and having this podcast of chatting with people is learning those folks that have been in cannabis predating legalization that use their traditional, and I always check myself, I hate saying traditional
Good.
as anything that's not cannabis, but their traditional
Correct.
education to get into the to find their way into the industry, to cross over with this passion of cannabis. And so that's an awesome journey. What do you still cultivate, or do you still have like a passion for cultivation?
Not at home. I can say that now. I had to hide from neighbors for almost 10 years. I'm not cultivating at home. I do visit the girls at THC Design, and there's 4 large grows in downtown LA, and so I do it, and I visit them, and I still sing and dance and check them out. The passion is there. I just don't have time for it anymore. I wear many hats. I've been in every part of the industry, of whether it be production, operations, and market. I got my hands in all of the facets of this industry. And yeah, and I did come, I am one of those, I came from corporate because I was in finance, but cannabis was always there, as I said, as my medicine. And I was always, didn't realize I was selling it because to me, I'm not selling cannabis. I'm informing people, I'm educating people. And anytime I would go around educating people on, what this beautiful plant can do for you, that's how I would just get all these people to start smoking weed. And I don't even like saying smoking weed because like it has this stigma, but it's more than that. Yes, I love smoking my weed. Yeah, yeah, of course. Just like people like having a drink, but there isn't medicinal benefits to alcohol,
Sure.
right? So it's like, wow, this amazing thing that I can have a good time with. And it's actually helping me with my ailments. And I'm not on prescriptions. Like people they want to prescribe me drugs all day long. If I see a therapist or if I see whoever I see, I'm leaving with a ton of prescriptions, and I don't use them. I refuse. And so that's I'm a true believer in plant medicine, and I'll leave it at that because I was going to get into psilocybin, but this is not a psilocybin episode.
Hey, we cover that a little bit, but yeah, definitely more focus on the greenery. But no, that's awesome. When you were getting your education and getting into the corporate world, did you envision yourself ending up in cannabis, or was it like you said, just you saw a window of opportunity kind of with the changing times?
I I always dreamed one day it would be legal. I dreamed of the day that my parents would just accept it, like just accept it as a thing. And I didn't think I'd see the day, to be honest. And my mom is now in her 80s, and it was only a year ago where she finally said, I can't do the side effects of the pharmaceuticals. It's killing me. It's got all these issues. She's going blind, from sleeping pill and whatever, and the diabetes. So I started her out with some edibles. And now now she's growing the plant in her yard that I never thought I'd see. So I did not
Mm.
think in my lifetime, because people were treating it like worse than heroin. And I just got so used to it having to hide it. I just never thought I'd see the day. Never understood why a plant could be illegal, but of course the politics, greed, and all that stuff. As you get older, you learn, you're like, oh, okay, this is why. Not because of the plants, just because of greed and politics and pharmaceuticals. So no, I didn't. And you don't realize you're living the dream until you look back and or someone reminds you, because you're doing your thing, and then you realize, oh my gosh, my dream, I'm living the dream. And so yeah, here I am in cannabis. Who knew, right? I'm like this nerdy accountant, counting beans, making sure everyone's taxes is done properly, and so on and so forth. And it was such a, people used to tell me, you're so dynamic for an accountant, and I was in this boring job for almost 20 years. And so it's exciting. It's completely different from what I've been doing prior to cannabis. But I'm made for it. It's in my blood. I think it was always there, just needed to come out.
I love that, man, and I want to build off some of that. But before I get into that, I want you, if you could explain kind of what are the product offerings or the lines that THC Design currently offers.
So THC Design is a flower company, and I like to call us the in and out of cannabis. We focus on the thing we're good at. The co-founders are farmers. They came from Oklahoma. They started in Oklahoma, got into some legal issues, came to California, I think in 2008, when they saw the opportunity for the green rush. And since then, excuse me, I think I'm about to sneeze. Hold on. No. Okay, it's not coming. All right. You get that itch and you're ready to sneeze, and it's right there, like, go away or sneeze or do something. So anyhow, so the purely all about the flower. So the offerings are, and I brought a couple of little eighths. So we have eighths done two ways. We're known for the XJ13. This was the very first strain that Ryan and Jerry grew, and their first sale was at Harborside. Their first pound, they were doing packs at the time, and after they sold their first pound, they were like, we're gonna make it. And so XJ is still a staple strain. Seth Rogen is a big fan, and he's using it in his product line as well. But so we have eighth jars. And we include the terpene profile on all the jars. And then we have eighths in 6-pack pre-rolls here. So we do the 6-pack pre-rolls, which is winning a bunch of awards. I mean, I'm not going to go into the list of awards and things and we keep that are happening, because we've got a bunch. And then we've got, so eighths are done two ways, and then our 1 gram flower comes in a pop top or our 1 gram pre-rolls. And that's what we did. And smalls. We have the THC Design smalls. It's called THC Design buds. You guys will see that out probably in the next few weeks. Currently it's called Daydreams, which is our smalls line, but we want to bring it back and just have one cohesive brand and just make it THC Design buds, which is like our smalls. But that's what we've got. We're purely a flower company, and everything we do goes into the plant, goes back to the plant. And as we all the profits go back into the plants, and so that's what allows us to keep it at an affordable price, because it's a very high end, very premium indoor. The same growers since day one, the same techniques with some modifications, but it's what made us consistent, and why, like, after so many years later, we're still strong, hanging in there, and got a good amount of the market share, and we're known for our consistency. And so that's what keeps us going.
Absolutely. And that's something I've noticed, like doing marketing for a variety of dispensaries. I know THC Design, most of the dispensaries I've worked with that have that on the menu, it's always sold fairly well. And that's a difficult thing, with California being, I always say it's like the most mature market, even though maybe time. I live in Washington. Obviously, Washington, Colorado are the most mature in terms of time having adult use prevalent. But the California consumer has been a snob and been spoiled with good weed and good genetics for much longer than some of these other markets. It's difficult to satisfy that consumer, and it's a difficult market to navigate because there's a lot of good weed. So what do you think are some of those things that have made THC Design successful in such a crowded and competitive marketplace?
I'm going to go back to the consistency being one. Two, I think the co-founders that started the business, Ryan is brilliant and it's got that science brain, and, THC Design is based on science. And that's what turned me on, because I am a little science nerd and I love, education. I love learning. And the one thing THC Design does very well is their education. Oh, I didn't even bring the book. So they just recently came out with their book. There's 420 pages. It's a coffee table book. It looks better than like a Porsche. It's beautiful. I don't know if we've gifted you one yet, but it's got all the day, every single day of the plant, what it would need. We took a picture every day of its life cycle. We covered everything in the book. It took 8 years to write. And the co-founder, Jerry, did Grow Girl to show people how to grow out of their closet. And we do like every week, we're doing something educational based. Teaching your consumer is very important. So that we're very big on that. And if you've got a good product, you got people passionate about the product, such as myself, and it's consistent and reliable and clean. The other thing is also the relationships. You can, having and caring enough about what you do and loving what you do. And you got to love people too. You got to be able to relate to people of all facets, and just show them the benefits of why our product is, should be on the shelves. And then, helping with that sell through, which it does on its own. Like we don't, we get them on the shelves, and once the customers try them, they come back on their own. So the product ends up selling itself. So I like to explain to people, I'm not selling a product. I'm just bringing awareness to the product. And so that's why I think that we're still strong in the market. I don't know, 10 years later.
And that's a unique aspect of looking at not selling the product, being that you're the VP of sales, right? But not looking at a sales-based approach. And that was one of the questions I had that kind of spurred when you were talking about your history earlier, is like being an accountant for so long and then now being in sales. Those are traditionally, like, if we're going to stereotype the personality to be successful in each of those roles, those are competing personalities. Those are very widely different personalities.
Yes.
Totally. Was it a challenge for you to transition into this more like less of a people focused numbers thing to more of this relationship? Or was it kind of, like you said, you were kind of this weird person in the accounting space because you didn't fit that mold?
It's funny, because I think I'm a dichotomy, because I could go into my dark corner and crunch out some numbers. And that was like, I got off on that. Like I got off on like math and solving very, very complicated, like 3-page problems. And so, but the transition, what made it easy? And I didn't even know, I was scared. Can we cuss?
Oh yeah, you good.
I was scared shitless going into sales. I remember it was my birthday when I moved out of the accounting office into the sales office. And what made it easy is the speakeasy that we were offering pre-COVID. There's a speakeasy at the Grow. And so I would work from 7 a.m. till 10 at night every day. I won't even get into the issues of banking and finance and all of that 5 years ago. Because that's when I started with THC Design. So the speakeasy was there 3 nights a week. And of course, a girl's got to eat. So they were offering food and weed and drinking. I would go to the speakeasy every night to grab a drink and a smoke and some food and get back to my accounting. But I was just naturally talking, I'd bring in our bankers and our congressmen and whatever would come to our speakeasy. And I would just naturally talk about the product because the reason why I started working with theirs because I love the product. I love what they had to offer. I love the culture. And I was naturally just doing my thing with people. And the owner just said, Maggie, you're like Mix Master 5000. That was my nickname. And he said, I see you up there. He's like, people are so just thrilled by you. And they're so shocked. Like our finance director knows so much about weed and was a grower and all of this stuff. He's like, you would kill it in sales. And I looked at him and was like, what? Sales? I don't know sales. I would never want to do sales. That's some scary shit. No, I want to hide behind my computer. And he's like, you should think about it. And literally I was there on a weekend because 7 days a week. I was there on a weekend and I'm signing the checks for the sales reps. And I'm looking at their check. I'm like, they are not working harder than I am. I'm working 10 times harder than them. And I'm looking at the amounts they're getting. I'm like, wait a minute. There's something wrong here. And it stuck in my mind what, the owner said, you would be great in sales. Because if you think about it, I had my own product line and I was selling, but didn't realize it. Because I was just, sharing with people how amazing this plant is. And plus, yes, I had a side hustle and making some money. I love making money. So it's like, wait, I have something I believe in and I can make money doing it. That's like a no-brainer. So I said, you know what? I think I'm going to take you up on that. I think I do want to go into sales. And plus this accounting business, you guys need a whole freaking company to resolve the accounting issues of cannabis, period. It wasn't just the THC Design thing. I was like, you guys need a whole, like me and a cash counter is not enough. You need a staff of like 10. So after really just getting burnt out on the accounting side of it, I said, okay, I'll give it a try. And I had no idea. It was just, again, I'm glad I didn't have a sales background and I'm glad no one taught me sales. I went out there with my passion for the plant and what it does and for the company. And I went out, I bought a little Sprinter van. I took this little guy, Ziggy, and I had another dog, Sassy. And we went up and down. I went to every corner of California in my Sprinter van and ended up opening 168 accounts that year.
Jesus.
In about a year and a half.
Jesus.
And that's actually how I ended up meeting Joey. I was a sales rep. It was a holiday. It was Valentine's Day. I worked on Christmas. I worked on New Year's, not because I had to, because I loved it. I wanted to get out there to the people. I wanted to show everybody. I'm like, look at this product. And you're not going to pay an arm and a leg for it. We found a way to make it inexpensive for you guys to get this medicine and to enjoy it. And so I didn't know it was going to be such an easy transition. I was scared shitless, but gosh, I have no regrets. I'm having fun. I'm working my ass off nonstop, but because I want to.
And that's divine, right? Like the fact that it was so easy and so natural. That was just one of it was serendipity, divine, whatever higher power you believe in. Think that the stars align for that to happen, because no sales experience, like you said, very little to no training. Open 168 doors in a year. Fucking what, man?
It was 160. I had to hire. I ended up hiring. So I went the sales, and then I ended up being the manager and then the director and now the VP of sales. And again, with the finance background and accounting and the attention to details allows me to be structured and paying attention to details, which is what makes you successful in sales. It's not you're the gift of the gab, because nobody wants to be sold. I don't want somebody selling me. And that's what I tell my sales reps. Don't sell anything. Educate and bring awareness and add value. If you're adding value to your client. They're not customers, they're your clients, they're partners. You have to, change your mindset on how you talk to people. When you walk into a shop, you're walking into their home. Respect that their home. Ask a manager if you can bring in samples. Ask if you can do this. You don't just walk into people's home and expect, somebody to talk to you and be rude or look crazy. Like, a lot of accounts would tell me you're like one of the best dressed sales reps out there. I'm like, I do this for you. I'm dressing for you. I if I come in sloppy, what does that say about how I feel about you? You know what I mean? So maybe I'm just old school that way. But I don't remember your question.
No, I mean, you trust
I'm
me,
just
you
talking my
answered
little ass off.
you answered it beautifully, man, for real, because that's game out there for a lot of people of just understanding what it takes to do sales, right? Like,
Yeah,
again, you've leaned on it. I've heard you say, I
yeah.
think 3 times, not selling.
You're
I'm
not
not selling.
selling. Yeah, like don't go in there trying to sell your product. Go in and find out how you can add value. I don't pull out, if I'm going to a new business meeting or a sales sample meeting, I come in, I sit down, and I'm getting to know you, and I'm going to figure out what your needs are, and then I'm going to figure out how do I fulfill those needs. I don't come in there and have my bag. I'm like, okay, let me show you my eights. Let me show you my 1 grams and our pre-rolls, and look at all these awards we're winning and all that. I don't do that. I just come in. Okay, how'd you get started? What's your goals? What would you like to see? What do you want out of a partnership? You know, and as you get to know that person, then you can say, okay, I have something for you, or oh, here's how I can help. Here's how I can add value. Adding value is key.
Mhm. Absolutely. And two, something that's important in sales, like opening doors is a big part of it, and then sell through is the other part, right? And I've worked with companies, worked alongside them where like their KPI is opening doors so much to the point where like they're ignoring sell through. They're ignoring the relationship. It's just like open doors, and it's like, great, you go open 30 doors this month, but if you don't build, you gift to gab them, you got on the shelf, and
Yep,
maybe it's not the right fit for you.
yep,
So they got that initial order,
yep.
and you're not going to get that reorder, and that relationship's going to have a blip on it for a while to win back that trust. So how do you kind of identify through learning what people, learning how you can add value to them? Are you able to kind of distinguish what's a right fit, and then sometimes be like, all right, this is maybe not the right fit, and when it's not the right fit, how do you kind of approach the relationship from there?
That's interesting. Right off the bat, let me think about that. So I was going to say right off the bat, there wasn't somebody that came off as, okay, this isn't the right fit. But actually, when I've I actually do remember sitting with somebody, and all they cared about was like, just, they just want to undercut everybody in them. They want it at dirt cheap. They want it like at 50% of the cost. At the time it was like $21 wholesale, and they like wanted it for, 12 or whatever. And it's like, and they only cared about, just destroying the people, the competitors, and cheapening the brand really, because if we were to sell it that in 50% off, and then it sells at who knows on the shelves. One, I'm not going to allow someone to cheapen the brand, and two, if you're just out just trying to make a quick buck, and you're not doing things right, and that isn't somebody, you can kind of tell if somebody's like a mess. And so that wouldn't be a good fit for us. So in that case, I wouldn't even just let them know this isn't a good fit. I would just say, thank you for your time, or, thanks for allowing me the opportunity to show you our products. And I'm pretty much there, and just I wouldn't actually say, okay, we're not a good fit. I would just thank them for their time, and keep it moving.
Yeah, because I mean, it's important. Like at the end of the day, that relationship could potentially turn to something else down the line, right?
Yeah, you don't want to burn bridge. Definitely not in this industry. You do not want to burn bridges, no matter who. I don't care if it's a bud tender. I don't care if it's security. I don't care if it's the parking lot attendant, whoever it is. If you're gonna stick to this industry, do not burn a bridge. Don't go. Don't tell all the. Cannabis is. There's a lot of BS out there, and guys, people know when you're BSing, and if they don't know in that moment, they'll find out. It's like, try to keep it real, be as transparent as you can, be honest. Like we don't have to hide behind the bushes anymore and behind the scenes. Like that was a culture of dishonesty and illegal, activities. Now we don't have to be that way. I mean, it's still federally illegal and we're working around those hurdles and it's kicking our asses, but just trust is big. You'll only grow as big as your circle of trust. So don't do all the BSing. Don't burn the bridges. Be
Yeah,
kind.
and
I'm
that
reliable.
security guard, that bud tender, that could be the purchaser in a
Oh
year. That
yes,
could be the manager in 6 months.
I've had so many bud tenders or security that are now the GM, or they're partnering with this, or even the buyer now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. I'm so glad. And again, even just when I met Joey, we were just reps, and 2 years later, because he left a good impression on me and I him. 2 years later, we linked up and we were able to help each other out and do some like collab, and it was awesome. So yeah, you never know who you're talking to, and just always treat every single person with respect. And I think that will go a long way. Respect. Just like respect my region. I love that name. It's really
Yeah.
true. Respect my region is a good philosophy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, built upon principles for sure. And this industry, there's been a fair amount of reports about it, or articles about it. Obviously, cannabis is a male dominated industry,
Yeah.
and being a woman in leadership is that's a minority in this place. Obviously, a minority yourself as well.
Yeah.
But THC Design, that's something that I know they've prided themselves on, is women in leadership and ownership. What is your take kind of on this industry, of what it takes to be kind of successful, and some of the challenges of being a woman in leadership in cannabis?
Whether you're male or female, to be successful is to know what you're talking about. I think, as a woman in the industry, know, do your research, know what you're talking about, have good work ethics, and you will be respected. You will be noticed, and more and way more women now are being noticed and respected for the work that they're doing in this industry. When I started at THC Design, the executive we'd have like an executive huddle in the morning, and the entire executive team was male except for myself and the co-founder Jeria. And that was it. And we were in a room of like 15, 20 males. And now today, the entire room is female. All the department heads, all the execs are female, except for our president, Marlon Kober. Shout out to Marlon. And Danny Staples, our head grower. And that's it. And everybody else, we're all the department heads are female, and not because, oh, you're male or female. It has nothing to do with our gender. It has to do with our work ethic. We work harder. We're reliable. We're sunny and funny. We keep things light. And so yeah, that's what I would say is, don't sell yourself short. Respect yourself first. Respect others, and be reliable, and you will get noticed.
Awesome. I love that. Like you say, it's game for anyone. That's some gender neutral game right there, man, for any and everyone. Well, Maggie, I really appreciate your time, man. You honestly dropped a lot of game. Sales in this industry is it's what propels this industry. We constantly see high turnover in the sales area. It's I don't know, a conversation we do. I do marketing, but obviously there is no marketing without sales. And so I know that's just something that people out there are thirsty for information, or they should be thirsty, because it's definitely something they need some assistance with. So I think you've dropped a lot of game on that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to plug about THC Design before we get you up out of here?
Well, if I have a moment to plug something in, I would like to talk about our new D2C website. We've never had direct to consumer, and we now do as of I think a week or two ago. And it's shop.thcdesign.com. Shop.thcdesign.com. Yes. And so that's our D2C platform. And, thank you to Respect My Region for your time and allowing me this opportunity to speak my truth to whoever's listening.
We appreciate you, Maggie, in more ways than one. So you are that shop.thcdesign.com, main website, thcdesign.com, on Instagram at thcdesign. Check that out. Really appreciate you, Maggie. And for you guys out there watching, if you're on YouTube, subscribe to somewhere under Maggie over there. Make sure you hit that. The comments are somewhere below there. Even if you got hate, man, send that. We welcome all love and hate.
Don't send me any hate. Don't send it.
Don't send it to Maggie. You can direct it towards me. I'll take it. I can take it. And if you listen to Spotify, Apple, make sure you follow, listen to each episode. We got more coming. This is the RMR Podcast.